I'm always rooting for a lady. That's feminism.
Is that what feminism is?
Mm-hmm. It means ladies rooting for ladies.
Okay.
It also means pushing men down the stairs and going, I'm the boss now.
Well, wait a second.
That's how I got this job. They had hired a man, and he's dead.
We are back again with another episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, the 5th and final season. We're up to episode 5, the midway point, otherwise entitled Starbase 80 Easter eggs? As in, this episode had about 80 Easter eggs, mostly in one room. Spoilers do lie ahead, so if those aren't for you, consider yourself warned. Now let's crack into the show. This episode may have been a bit light on the plot, but it certainly made up for that fact with all of the references, Easter eggs, callbacks, mostly pertaining to the TOS and Enterprise eras. While probably being an excuse to get some of our crew wet and topless, the opening being a return from an away mission to some sort of water world was actually kinda neat. Now, why they would need such an excuse approximately 2 minutes before we have another one in the form of a decon chamber is anyone's guess. I also appreciated that the LG conversation at the beginning was a lot more of a misdirect than anything else. I certainly spent most of the episode just assuming this would be the inevitable reason behind all of the issues, but that wasn't the case. Kudos to them for that. The nav breakdown and subsequent horror our crew experienced when realizing Starbase 80 was their closest and only real option was fun. And while I did enjoy the Mariner Khan homage, I was actually way more tickled by the absolutely amazing course Boimler plotted to get them there.
Mr. Boimler, Starbase 80, full impulse.
Upon their arrival, we get that fun decon chamber scene I mentioned a moment ago.
Can science explain Q? Probably.
If you'd like more decon chamber in your life, check out my video on the subject. I think it was a good and reasonable story excuse for them to use the decon chamber, but I am a wee bit sad that this hyped up moment from the trailer wasn't an actual adventure into the Enterprise era.
Oh, a man can dream, though. A man can dream.
And on the subject of the trailers, we yet again get more footage that was edited for it in order to disguise this ongoing arc of Boimler's facial hair.
Hi, Jinx.
I love it, but it continues to baffle me just how much of a closely guarded secret this element has truly been this season, and whether or not that implies it's going to have a greater function in the overall story, or if it's just a bit of fun. But do you know what isn't a closely guarded secret? The fact that you can become a member of this channel. So why not join some really cool folks like these? Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Once we board SB-80, we really get hit with all of the references. It's basically a TOS era station, yet the crew is all adorned with the Enterprise era uniforms. It also gives a fairly DS9 type of feeling when we get to their version of the promenade. I would also be remiss not to mention the Room of Eggs, but I won't be going through all of them. If you would like to check out a lot more of a thorough list and a thorough explanation of just what was found in here, head over to check out my friend Best of Trek, Worst of Trek, and after falling in love with and subscribing to that channel, make sure to check back Mondays at 8 p.m. where a gaggle of Trek YouTubers discuss the newest episodes and or any other Trek news. Sometimes you might even see me. I really enjoyed the new characters in this episode. Cassian Ox was great, definitely made me wish there was a Star Trek episode of Nailed It to use as an intro for this video, hint hint, nudge nudge. I did find it a bit of an odd choice to make her an Elorian in the manner in which they did. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's cool to give us an Elorian who is only in her 30s, or a regular age person, as Mariner would say, as opposed to the generations spanning type we are accustomed to. And I guess by saying generations, that's a pun? Maybe? I'll never tell. But it just felt so right for her to have been serving on the station ever since those classic days of Trek. That would really tie into why things are so retro. I know it's because it's not been updated for a while, but it would really make sense if she had been serving all those years on the station and her first uniform was the Enterprise era uniforms, and that's kind of the reason she was keeping that alive. And I know if you want to nitpick and say that the Elorians couldn't possibly be in Starfleet until 2293 when the Nexus events occurred, you can always say that as well. I'm just saying I feel like it was ready-made, tailor-made, however you want to describe it, to be a purposely built-in reason as to why things might be a little anachronistic, and to put in that she was just a regular aged human. I liked it, but felt like it was a missed opportunity. Anywho, I digress. Jakubowski was a blast, and he was the real force behind all of the B-plot, and I really liked
Station Dr. Harrison Horsebury.
With his half-tar cannon parasite features, that was a hoot as well. I don't have much to say about the Akamarians in this episode, but I feel like I do need to mention it in order to put in another little plug for one of my videos. Let's see if I can remember or am able to add another card here as well. Oh, so circling back to my LG comments I made at the start of this video, I was always under the impression this was going to be the true cause behind the combadge zombies. Speaking of the zombies, I feel like this was probably intended to drop a couple of weeks back during Halloween, so yay streaming schedules! I was assuming some sort of hive-minded spores or something had been brought back to the ship and this was causing the infection. I still think this would have been a cool idea, but I like that they didn't give us the simple answer. Having it be an overstretched anaphasic life form was interesting, and it did provide a bit of a saving grace to a mostly one-note joke of a species within this universe. Unfortunately, as much as I did enjoy this episode, there are a couple of problems. First and most notably, another episode without T'Lyn. I know she isn't part of the OG main cast, but it just seems wrong not to include her in here at least for a scene or two. Why not have her as part of the returning team from the away mission? Even if they ran out of time for any sort of voiceover or anything like that, throw her into the background or something. I would definitely be less harsh on this point if we weren't now halfway through what is touted as the final season of the show, with the impending march of that inevitable doom just inching closer week by week. It also feels like we haven't moved the ongoing arc forward quite enough at this point in the story. Again, halfway through the season. We didn't even touch on it this episode, or did we? Now, I always say that you need to judge an episode for what it does when it comes out, so while new episodes can improve and add context to what came before, you have to judge it for what it is at the moment. But it is possible that this episode dropped a couple of hints that Starbase 80 is much more involved with these anomalies than seems to be the case at the moment. Aside from the mentions it seems to get in every episode of the season, as well as Captain Freeman's obsession with it, it does seem like there might be more than meets the eye here with this Starbase 80 thing. I'm speaking mostly of one throwaway line from very early on in this episode.
We're so relieved Starfleet finally sent someone to repair our flux spectrometer.
I'm no science fella, but what if this is linked to the rifts in some manner? Either intentionally or not, I'm definitely wondering if this could make Starbase 80 some kind of reception point for random stuff washing into our reality. All of these Easter eggs and the trinkets are just temporal flotsam converging in the area. I guess kind of similar to what Cardiff was in Torchwood, something like that. And while I'm here going wildly into the weeds about a simple throwaway line in a show, why not do that again? What if the rifts and Starbase 80 in general are somehow tied in with the dog from way back in season 1?
Farewell, Tendi. May the suns shine upon you.
Why do I think this? Well, it's been a long time since we've seen her, and literally just because of this one line here.
Now you see we're just a bunch of scrappy underdogs. Arf, arf. Huh.
Just wanted to throw that theory out there since I don't think I've seen it even mentioned at all by anyone. But what are your thoughts? Did you like this episode of Lower Decks? Do you have any idea what's really going on out there? Do you think we've been given enough information to even determine what's behind it all? Did you like all the Easter eggs, or honestly, did they just kind of wash over you? Whatever you think, leave all that down below. And while you're there, like, share, subscribe, join, and do all the YouTube things. But until next time...
Okay, fine. You don't want to see me anymore? That's great. That's great. I still get half the money.
You have all the money. Get out.